Last year, Professor Barbara Casadei, which is a professor of cardiovascular medicine at Oxford University, she decided to do this course, Women Transforming Leadership, at the University of Oxford, Said Business School. She's in her academic life, she's also, she has a major leadership role in the European Society of Cardiology, and in particular she's the Vice President of Research and Scientific Affairs and Women in Cardiology. So she decided to extend, to actually propose to the European Society of Cardiology to extend the experience she had to the society. And so the board has then decided to offer 5 scholarships to 5 women in cardiology to go on this course in 2015. And you got 5 selected candidates here.
I'd add that I think it was a super smart idea of the ESC to do this, because they recognise that fewer than 1% of the fellows of the ESC are female, and that what they've done is build an instant network of 5 leading female cardiologists, putting them in this extraordinary environment together. Yeah. So we will then be able to potentially take this on as a network, and I think it was a very smart thing to do.
Yeah, I agree.
It's very strategic, very smart.
And it should also be said that not only the fellows, there are very few women, but the cardiology in general are very male-dominated, especially at the higher level and at the leadership levels.
And I think it's both in the clinics and academics, the research environment.
And it was interesting that we didn't meet each other before, so we had the opportunity to meet here.
Yeah. Yeah. So the common denominator clearly that we have all leadership roles, either in our own institution or perhaps in the society as well. And in fact, that was a kind of an entry criteria to apply for those scholarships.
What I did was, when I read about it, I went on their website and I had a look at the sort of people who'd been on it, what they got from it, how it had developed them, what changes they'd made in either their leadership style or even their posts and their positions. And I thought that given what I do, so I have a role within my own institution at the Royal Brompton Hospital, but I also have a national role in terms of teaching, training, education, and also roles within the ESC. And I felt that actually from what I learnt online from their website, that there was a lot here that would be really useful to me in every aspect of my career. And having been here for this week, it's extraordinary, and it's fulfilled absolutely everything that I would have expected it to. It's been amazing.
I chose to apply because I've been working as a cardiologist for quite a few years on the floor, but I was recently made head of the Department of Cardiology. And I found as a medical doctor, you're trained to deal with issues and you have to be a natural leader on the floor when you take care of patients. But moving up to being a head of a department, you have to have different skills. You have to learn to manage people. And I felt coming from within my staff, I had to learn how to deal with my peers, because I was now all of a sudden their boss. So I found this an excellent opportunity to get some tools to be able to become a better leader.
I applied because when I read about this course and got the mails from the ESC, I found it might be very useful in my current job, which is as the head of the Department of Cardiology in Oslo, and which is quite a challenging position, and especially maybe it's challenging for both men and women, but maybe especially challenging for women in a quite male-dominated area. And also as a professor at the University of Oslo, I think I'm the second female professor in cardiology in Norway. So the university is also quite male-dominated at that level. And there are many challenges in relation to that. And when I read about this course, that it was supposed to give us some tools to manage better as a leader, I thought that might be very useful for me in my current job.
Well, when I noticed about this course in the ESC website, I think that this can be very useful for me, because I am a clinical cardiologist, and this is the work that I enjoy the most. I'm working in La Coruña in Spain, but over the years I've been involved in many other landscapes, very involved in some scientific societies, International Society of Heart and Transplantation, Heart Failure Association of the European Society of Cardiology, Spanish Society of Cardiology, and also in our group it's not only a clinical assistant, it's also research, it's also learning, it's also education. So I think that many of the things that I are going to learn here are going to be very useful for me.
If I might add, I think one of the reasons I also applied for this is that in my leadership roles in the ESC, in the ECVI, which is the Imaging Association, I find myself that I'm often the youngest in the block, and so to be a female and the youngest, sometimes it's not easy to be able to emerge in a conventional way, and so being a female, brings some I wouldn't say limitations, but it's sometimes can be a struggle, but it can also be an opportunity. So I think I wanted to get this course and to come to this course to kind of build upon that.
I think for myself, I think it's great to start with a self-awareness and reflect upon who are you and what are your qualities, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. And I think the main message for myself is to work with my strengths and not to bury myself in my weaknesses. So that I'm very happy for.
So I'll add to, absolutely, what you've said is absolutely right. But I would also add what I've been learning as well is learning about strategic thinking. So not just for oneself in terms of one's own career, but also having much more awareness of structures and societies and how you can understand the behaviours that people have, understand how you could lead them better, and how you can actually play on the strengths of the teams that you have around you much, much better. So not just as a person, but also for the institutions where we all work and which we represent. So that for me has been really useful.
I also want to mention these tools to improve our ability to negotiate, which we learned a lot about yesterday. I think that has been very useful because as a leader you often have to negotiate to get what you want, and that's not always so easy. So I think that was a really useful session yesterday.
I just would add what has already said, that this is the opportunity to meet a group of very talented and interesting women that can help us to explore different styles in leadership.
Yeah. And what's interesting actually, that we are the 5 cardiologists in the group, and there are 56 women in this group, and they all come from finance, legal, marketing, business, but they all come from healthcare, politics, exactly, government. And so very different background, but when you start to kind of talk the issues, then you see that there is a common denominator, so which is not across the specialty. And this is why the course has been so useful for us. The frustration that sometimes we feel in our role, actually, it's a frustration that's shared across the borders, and that makes you feel a little bit less frustrated, in the moment that you can share network with colleagues that feel and have experienced the same. Yeah, I think the highlight is the networking, because it's a network that it would last, and it would last beyond this week, of course. And so we already been exchanging business cards, emails, and stuff, and that creates a community that we'll hope that it will grow over the years. And again, I think that's quite important because that highlights the role of the mentorship and the networking, to address those problems. So this course probably is just the beginning of something.
I think one message was it's okay to be yourself, and you can be a good leader with your strengths and your weaknesses.
For me, in addition to all these amazing things, the things that have been absolutely outstanding have been meeting extraordinary women who work in extraordinary circumstances that in my narrow world of medicine, I couldn't contemplate meeting people who are so high up in the United Nations, who do extraordinary work in Afghanistan. I mean, it's utterly humbling to be able to sit and learn from them and learn how they manage, how they got to be where they are. I've met ladies who are lawyers in countries where women are just not lawyers, and yet they've overcome that and they've succeeded, and it's been, to me, absolutely inspiring. So amongst all these amazing things that I've learned, I've just sat back and been inspired.